would love to have lived some of the portions of this man's life. In fact, some of what he's done, I've now put on my list. You know, that infamous bucket list people talk about. So Bernie McAuley is in our virtual green room, and he was raised on a cattle ranch in eastern Montana. Then he ended up working for the airline, so you know what that means. You're open to lots of travel. He is a guy who likes to fish and hunt and even team roping. And this is the key thing in the Shadows of Sawtooth Ridge. So the name of the book that he's written is The Shadows of Sawtooth Ridge. Bernie, thanks so much for coming on.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I don't know if I would be so great at hunting because I'm not a great shot, but fishing, I think I could maybe give you a run for the money.
There's lots of fishing out in that area on the Missouri River. If you travel between, say, Great Falls and Helena, back in about this time of year, you will see a lot of people floating the river and fly fishing and so forth. And it's beautiful country. It really is. One of the people I was ended up fly fishing with one morning was Roy Rogers.
Wow! Really?
Him and his manager was down there fly fishing. They were holding a show at him and the Sons of the Pioneers were at a show at Montana State Fair in Great Falls at the time. So.
How interesting.
It's nice country. Team roping. We used to team rope at a ranch up in the shadows of the Sawtooths, usually weekly. It was kind of I'm trying to think what the word is. We call it jackpot roping, where we each throw in so much money, and whoever's the fastest time gets to go home with the money.
Nice. I like that. That sounds very, very interesting. So tell us about the book. Why did you write the book?
The book is a combination of a whole bunch of stories put together. It's my experiences with the airlines, and if you've been with the airlines at all or heard enough, there's 1,000 stories there. And my time, I've worked up in Glacier National Park as a packer and a dude wrangler, we called it. Back in the 70s or late 60s, I guess, taking groups out and also packing into supplies into the fire lookouts and two chalets, the Granite Park Chalet, which is just back in operation after a big fire here a couple years ago. And, the Sperry Chalet is. The Granite Park Chalet is... has a book of its own. It's called The Night of the Grizzly, which was about the happenings of up there in 1967. So, and it's we're talking about Mount Rainier earlier. I've been up and down the Pacific Crest Trail by horseback. Amazing how many pictures are taken between the ears of horses that we have, and. Some of the stuff is my era. We do have crew members that do commute. My son is one of them that commutes out of Palm Springs to Seattle or San Francisco.
Yeah, as far as flying, yeah, because he's a pilot, right?
Yeah, he's a flight attendant.
A flight attendant, yeah. So again, he gets the benefit of the travel because you have the travel benefits too.
Yes, he certainly does.
Yeah.
Yes, he certainly does. He was in Boston and Hawaii in the last couple of weeks, so he's been around.
Rough. And you also talk about, being a POW, returning home after the Vietnam War, finding that life has changed drastically. And now a single father of two, that's the book. That's the Shadows of Sawtooth Ridge.
It's a book. It's about one person's life who we did have a POW that flew for us. I've never met the gentleman. But we did have a PW that did fly for us, and he did come home, and he ended up retiring not too far back, I understand. and apparently he was a super, super nice guy. But I kind of threw that in, and commuting out of Great Falls, having the ranch up in Augusta, Montana, which is at the front of the eastern slope of the Rockies. If you've ever been up there, David Letterman has a home up there, in fact, in that area.
Yeah, beautiful.
And brought in the fact of PTSD, which kind of in that time period was a lot of our servicemen that came back from Vietnam. And it just kind of, to me, it's some of the trials and tribulations that went with him, and how past life, this gentleman was in college rodeo, high school rodeo, and he had a young lady who really liked him, and for some reason they never got together until after he returned from Vietnam and decided to assume the family ranch up in Augusta. And they kind of worked out their differences over the period of time and ended up getting married and trying to have a good life together, so forth. So I'm working on a second book now of his daughter, Joni, who is going to be following her father's footsteps in the Navy and so forth. The only difference is that her father attended a state university before entering the Navy, and she attended Annapolis Naval Academy. So that's the only difference in the two areas. So, and she has her own problems, such as being a female in an all-male society, which started about that, but brings that along.
So
but
really,
it's a beautiful country there.
Yeah, so really your story is so much about people. It's about people and what they've encountered, and then what happens when you are there in the shadows of Sawtooth Ridge. Was it fun for you to write this?
Yes, and another thing that comes into mind is the stump, the cottonwood stump. In fact, I'd love to write a story about the cottonwood stump. But the stump becomes kind of a silent person in the family, or a silent object in the family. Where in the beginning of where Larry came back to the ranch, he ends up spending quite a bit of his time down near the creek. And as you noticed that he's listening to the trout in the creek, he's listening to the owls and the coyotes, and kind of nature talking to him, and trying to smooth his nerves and his mind, clear his mind, so to speak. And that stump becomes pretty famous in the rest of in the next few books I hope to write. In fact, we got a thing going in Facebook right now where some of my friends were trying to find a name for the stump.
I love it. That's good engagement, getting people involved in weaving together a novel and taking all that you know and putting it in that. What do you hope people take away from this first one? What do you hope they take away from reading The Shadows of Sawtooth Ridge?
Mostly entertainment. It's I've had it out there a couple places, and one of the places they had it, they felt that it would make a good Hallmark movie because it's not that long. You can probably read the book in a two-night sitting pretty easily. But it's entertainment mostly, but also kind of our lives out in Montana, out in the area. A lot of our ranches are family ranches. Our ranch was a family ranch, was in the family since 1911 until it was sold afterwards. But we grew up on the prairies of eastern Montana, and I learned to love the mountains when I went to work in Glacier National Park. And of course, both areas were working with people in Glacier Park and working with people at Northwest Airlines, you hear a lot of stories. You put them together and so forth.
Yeah.
And stories is something that goes on in our whole lives. We sit down and we talk with each other over whether it's a fire or whether it's a table. We all tell stories.
Boy, that's true. It's the art of storytelling. Bernie McAuley, thank you so much. You can get the book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. We appreciate you coming on the show.
Hey, thank you very much for calling. I appreciate it. You have a good day.
You too, Bernie. Thanks.